Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today we are taking a look at another new concept on the channel. Or at least I think it's relatively new. I definitely wouldn't call this brand new. I think it's been out for around a month or so, something like that. But if you want to see something brand spanking new, check in tomorrow night. I have a massive video to show you guys of a pretty awesome drop happening with another company. But this one right here is definitely worth your time tonight. And this is none other than the Kansept Anomaly. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length coming in at 7.29 inches, a blade length of 3.14 inches, and a blade thickness at 120 thousandths. Blade material on this guy is S35VN. We are looking at a straight back style blade with a flat grind, handle length coming in at 4.15 inches, titanium for the handle material, a nice solid frame lock for the locking mechanism, user of a right hand only tip up carry, 4.6 ounces, so not super heavy. And I will say for this size of a knife, it really doesn't feel like 4.6 ounces. I really need to get new batteries in my scale, but I almost feel like that's a typo because this really does not feel anywhere close to that. Designed by Dirk Pinkerton, if you didn't see it there. Dirk is a very underrated designer in the community, in my opinion. I think he does a fantastic job. He comes up with some really good, clean, sleek, tactical designs. Not all of them are tactical, but a lot of them have a tactical presence to it. I would say this one is more of just like a clean, almost a classy carry, but nonetheless, a very solid, true EDC design with a little touch of flair to it. Price coming in at $156.80. Which is really kind of just status quo. I mean, that's very much along the line of Kaiser for like a premium Kaiser, the 149 to 169 area. And you're getting pretty much the same material as titanium, S35. So yeah, not too shabby in terms of price and offering. And as you can see, the anodized titanium, it'll always kind of change a little color depending on the heat or the amount of moisture or whatever on your hands they can get on the handle. Kind of makes it look nice and kind of like almost like a little bit of patina. So kind of cool going on there. Let's take a look at some size comparisons here and see how it stacks up with some other EDCs. And we'll bring out a lot of familiar ones. Here we have the Ferrum Forge Stinger, which is a fantastic comparison, as well as the Vostede Raccoon, which is an excellent budget knife. A little bit bigger. Really is. I really like that Stinger comparison. That may be as good as we get here, but let's see. I got a couple more for you. We'll bring out the Civivi Cogent here, as well as one of my personal favorites, the Kaiser Original XL. And yeah, pretty much right along the lines of the Stinger. I feel like that's the one that you really want to get the good length comparison with, and some good lines there on that Stinger as well. But now let's get to talking about this knife and see just what I think of it. It's not perfect, but I do think it's a pretty good offering from Kansept, who continues to come out with some pretty good designs this year. This is the first year Kansept has really grabbed my attention and made me want to get their knives on my channel. And I'm glad I have, because so far, this is the fourth. I take that back. This is the fourth Kansept this year. Two of them were fantastic. One of them was kind of meh. This one is pretty darn good. And why I say that has a lot to do with this blade here. Really nice blade in general, just a nice, almost full flat grind, razor thin edge coming in at 14 thousandths behind the edge. That's the thinnest I have ever come across on a Kansept blade, so you gotta love seeing that. And then it has a pretty nice plunge grind here too. It gets thin and stays thin well behind the end of the sharpened edge there, which should make for a pretty good sharpening experience. And just a really nice, clean, kind of straight back design. Definitely see that Dirk Pinkerton design language in this one, which I like a whole lot. I really hope to see more Dirk between all the brands out there. I think I've seen him now at what was it? Let's see, CJRB, Kaiser, Kansept now. Almost positive he has one or two designs with Civivi, I believe. So yeah, he's pretty well known within the community. And if you haven't heard of him, definitely try searching up some of his designs because he does really good work, and you see it in just about every one. The rest of the blade is actually really simple, but it is clean, it looks good, and it pairs very well with this handle, which actually feels really good in hand. I wouldn't call this like a big handle, but even for me, it is a full 4-finger grip, nice and comfy in the hand, nice and secure with the flipper up here kind of acting as like a safety choil or a safety guard to keep your finger from sliding up into the path of the blade. Really nice lock up on the frame lock, and of course you have your over travel stop and your lock bar insert there, so no worries there. Some nice standoffs. The clip works really well in and out of the pocket just fine. I like how they did kind of just a raw clip to kind of help contrast a little with the blade, and the handle looks good. And yeah, really clean, solid handle. The one thing about this knife that I feel like is the most important thing to kind of caution everyone on, and I don't think it's like, if I'm complaining about this, it's a big deal, but I'm not really complaining about it. This is on a very fine line when it comes to lock bar pressure on the lock bar, like what is acceptable and what isn't. So as you can see, I'm pretty easily flipping this blade out. And if you get a little pressure on the lock bar, you can still pretty easily flip the blade out. So this is not a really bad case of it, but if you put a little too much pressure, or too much pressure, I don't want to say a little because it's not really touchy, but if you put too much pressure on the lock bar, you can have kind of the failed flips like this. Now, there's a couple reasons for that. I really do wish there would have been a little jimping up here on the flipper tab. There's absolutely none. That's really not ideal on any flipper tab. I don't care what it is. I really think there should be jimping on any flipper tab. And when it comes to a flipper tab design like this, a design like this, in my opinion, is suited more for like an inset liner lock or something other than a frame lock, because what happens is, if there is any sensitivity on the lock bar, and there's going to be people in the comments that are like, it's a lock bar, or it's a frame lock, you can always put too much pressure on it and not be able to flip the blade out. You're wrong in saying that, because there are plenty of frame locks out there that you can apply plenty of pressure on and flip the blade out just fine. But again, I want to backtrack and say this is not like the worst case scenario. Like I still like this knife. This hasn't turned me away from this knife. There's other knives to where I've been like, oh yeah, I really can't deal with that on this knife because it's just too sensitive, too touchy, takes away from the enjoyment of the knife. I still enjoy carrying and using this knife enough to where the little bit of sensitivity on the lock bar, I can get past it on this one, because for a couple of reasons. One, you have a good amount of space on this side that makes it doable, and then you also have a nice milled kind of high-rising clip here that makes it very easy to place your fingers on and just kind of stay out of the way and flip the blade out. So it's worth cautioning everyone about, because some people have like no tolerance for it. I have a little tolerance, and this is pretty much right there for me in terms of what's acceptable and not acceptable. And for me, for this one, I don't have too big of a yank with it. It's not like that ZT that was just like absolutely impossible to flip out if you just like looked at the lock bar the wrong way and put a little pressure with your eyes on it. This actually has a very nice detent. Nice and crisp, kind of has that. Yeah, it feels like a premium detent, I guess, is the best way to say it. It feels like a premium Kaiser. It feels like more than just a budget knife, and I like that. That's kind of how it should feel for a knife that's $150. So, Kansept did a really good job on this overall. The only thing I would really like to see changed is maybe even like a slightly different or modified flipper design, or some good jimping up here. A little jimping on the flipper tab, and I would be really happy with this. But instead, as is, I still think it's a solid knife. I do think it's worth considering, and it's one to where, like, if you really like it, like if you collect Dirk Pinkerton and you really like his designs, or you're just a really big Kansept fan, or if you're wanting to maybe check out a Kansept and you like this design, I wouldn't hesitate too much on this one. I think it's a reasonable price. I think it's a really good looking knife, and outside of that little bit of flipper and lock bar touchiness, it's still good enough for me. Still pretty good. I would put this one up there in the good category for sure. And that is the Kansept Anomaly, guys. Let me know what you think of this. If you're a fan of Dirk Pinkerton, let me know. I think I really like his designs. Really, really like them. And yeah, this is a very solid one. So really hope you guys enjoyed this one. Got a big one coming for you tomorrow. Until then, hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.